When you've got a cost calculator on your website, you've got some decisions to make about what you make people fill in or not fill in. And I'm going to take you through the process here and what works and what doesn't work depending on your perspective. So I'm on a particular page of this website. I'm going to go to this instant quote. Now, this is just an example. This applies to any website. It's not singling out this one in particular. So you've got 3 steps to get this cost up on screen, hopefully. The implication is that it's an instant quote, and a lot of people expect that on the screen without having to give their personal details, whereas the website owner wants to get the personal details of the people before they give them the price. So it's a very difficult dynamic, and that's why it's important to be able to measure what happens at each stage of that. So with this point here, where we've gone to a particular URL and we're in the first stage, step 1 of 3. Now, ideally, what would happen is each stage that someone goes through, there will be a change in the URL, or at least it's being tracked via a Google Analytics event tracking, so you can see which people get from one stage to the next. So let's use round numbers and say we've got 100 people who have got to this page over a period of time, and they're on step 1 of 3. And we want them to get all the way through the 3 steps and to get their quotation. So I'm going to pick something here, and ideally I'm going to step 2. Now in this particular case, there is a need to put that button somewhere more obvious. But let's say there were 100 people and actually people didn't work out that that was down there, and they lost 30 of them. So 70 get to this next stage. Now, if you haven't got event tracking set up in any way, you wouldn't know that's happening because the URL isn't changing. So I'm just going to fill in some details here, just some basic information, and go to the next stage. So we've got 70, say at this point. Now, let's say there was something on here that wasn't very clear, and people didn't get beyond this stage. You'd want to know how many people got to here versus the ones that got to the next one. And again, that's what GA event tracking can do, and there are other ways of doing it as well. Now at this point, we get to the final stage, step 3 of 3, and now we're being asked for our name. Now, of course, the person might think that they're going to get an instant quote on the screen, but in this case, they're not going to get an instant quote. They're going to have to put their details in, which is what the website owner ideally wants. And there is a school of thought that if someone is serious about it or really wants to go ahead with a purchase, potential purchase, they will put their details in to get that quotation price. On the flip side, a lot of people will be offended by that and will not want to put their details in and expect to see the price. In reality, what websites need to do is they need to test both methods. They need to have 2 different versions doing 2 different things and see how far people get through the cycle. So if I put in some basic details here, like this, I'm just going to put in some rubbish information, and just to get the quote.com. Okay, and people will do this. They will fill in a dodgy email address just to get the thing up on the screen, or what they hope it's going to get on the screen, or at least they're not going to get it by email, are they? So when we click display your estimate, you will see that what it's going to do is it will get to a thank you page once it's processed it. There we go. And they get their estimate there. It's clear to them what their estimate is, and they get to a separate URL. Now that's actually quite useful because the website owner could track how many people started the sequence versus how many people got to the end. The issue in this particular case is that they won't be able to see whether they fell out at step 1, 2, or 3 before getting to this final page. It makes it really hard to track. So it's really hard for website owners to decide what to do about pricing calculators on their websites. My personal view is that you should give people the rough estimate and then ask for their details. The other view is that you should get their details and then give them an estimate for it. Either way, both should be tested just to see what works better.